Yancy Medeiros and Alex Oliveira. Medeiros is 30 years old, 14-4-1 in his MMA career. He is on a 2-fight win streak, and his last fight was a TKO win over Eric Silva in June. Alex Oliveira is 29 years old, 18-3-2 in his MMA career. He is on a 2-fight win streak, 4 if you take away his no contest against Tim Means, and his last fight was a KO win over Ryan LaFleur in July. Bryce, go ahead.
Do you happen to know what weight class this is at?
170. Don't hold me to it.
Okay.
Yes, 170.
170? Okay. Well, I think Alex Oliveira has looked really, really good since making that jump up from 155, and that's why I have winning this. And Yancy Medeiros, I'm very fuzzy on his fight against Eric Silva, but I kind of recall it. But I think Alex Oliveira is a really long, lanky, difficult guy to figure out, and I think he's going to win.
I also have Oliveira. I just think he's fought and beaten better quality opponents than Medeiros has. And like you said, he's looked very good since coming up from 55. He's kind of like an unlikable guy. I think he played up the illegal knees against Tim Means, and I feel like he's a guy that's kind of gotten borderline dirty at times in fights recently. But yeah, I think I have him beating Medeiros in this one.
I have Oliveira. I had to look at his face to know which one because there's at least 200 Oliveiras in MMA.
Cowboy.
Oh, Cowboy?
Yeah.
But yeah, I have him winning. I just wanted to say there's at least 200 Oliveiras in UFC.
At least. There's another one on this card.
Yeah.
I set my phone down for some reason. The next fight we have on this card is Paul Felder and Charles Oliveira. Paul Felder is 33 years old, 14-2 in his MMA career. He is on a 2-fight win streak, and his last one was a KO victory over Stevie Ray in July. Excuse me. Charles Du Bronx Oliveira is 28 years old, 22-7-1 in his MMA career. He won his last fight, which was a submission over Will Brooks back in April. Bryce?
I got Paul Felder. First off, I want to say it's nice that Paul Felder is finally getting these top-tier guys. I remember watching him for a couple years probably now. I feel like he's been in the UFC, just putting on great performances and not getting the caliber of opponents to match it. But I have him winning. I think his stand-up game is way too diverse for Oliveira to handle. And the only fight of Oliveira I can really remember is when he fought Anthony Pettis, and Pettis did whatever he wanted to on the ground against a guy that's supposed to be good at submissions.
Yeah. This is to me, this was probably the toughest fight on the card to pick. I ended up picking Felder. Oliveira just hasn't really looked that great as of late. Not as great as he did. He had a little bit of hype about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. And since then, he's kind of fallen apart a little bit, and his performances have dropped a little bit. So I'm going to go with Paul Felder in that one.
I got Paul, the Irish Dragon Felder. I just like that nickname.
It is a great nickname.
It's awesome.
It is.
I also wanted to say how much I like Paul Felder on commentary.
Yeah, he's been shockingly good. I didn't even know who it was at first, but yeah, he's really good on commentary, and I'm hoping he takes that into the octagon.
That's kind of one thing that I was a little wary of picking him because of. He's focusing on that a little more instead of actually fighting. But I just think he's better than Charles Oliveira, so I picked him anyway. The next fight we have to pick on the card is Michelle, the Karate Hottie Waterson, versus the Tiny Tornado. Tisha Torres Waterson is the former Invicta Atomweight champion. She is 31 years old, 15-5 in her MMA career. Her last fight was a loss to the current champion, and it was a submission loss in April to Rose Namajunas, obviously. Tisha Torres is 28 years old, 9-1 in her MMA career. Her only loss is also to the champion Rose Namajunas, but she's won her last two, her most recent being a submission win over Juliana Lima in July. Bryce?
So when we originally made our picks, I picked Michelle Waterson because I couldn't remember a whole lot about Tisha Torres, and since then I'd done my research. I looked at odds and things like that, and I don't know if you knew this, but Tisha Torres has a victory over Rose Namajunas.
Does she?
Huh?
Oh, an Invicta.
Yeah, because she was calling for a trilogy fight after she wins this weekend.
Right.
And I think she's just a really, like you said, she's 9-1. She's only lost to the current champion. I think that she's better than Michelle Waterson is at this point, and she's going to come away with a W.
I also have Torres. I think this is also a close one to pick because Waterson's ground game is very underrated. But I think Torres just kind of grinds out a decision in this one. If you are a betting person, hammer over 2.5 rounds in this fight. I'm telling you. But then again, I didn't have a very good weekend betting, so maybe don't listen to me either. Brendan?
I got Michelle to win this fight by... No, I'm not going to predict it. I think she's going to win.
All right. Brendan's got one. Next fight we have is Eddie Alvarez and Justin Gaethje. Eddie is the former UFC lightweight champion, 34 years old. He is 28-5-1 in his MMA career. His last fight was a no contest against Dustin Poirier in May. Justin Gaethje is the former World Series of Fighting champion. He's only 29 years old, 18-0 in his MMA career. His last fight was his UFC debut, a TKO win over Michael Johnson in July.
All I'm saying is if this fight is anything like his UFC debut, Justin Gaethje is going to headline a pay-per-view next. I guarantee it. The dude is electric. I see him knocking out Eddie Alvarez within 2 rounds.
Whoa. I also have Justin Gaethje. I think he's going to put some work on Eddie Alvarez's chin, which doesn't seem to be what it used to be. I think Gaethje wins by KO, and if you're a betting man, under 2.5 rounds in this one.
I got Alvarez. Maybe I just like the dog in him. I think he scraps it out, and I think it goes to decision.
Interesting. The next fight we have is Henry Cejudo, who is a former title challenger. He's 30 years old, 11-2 in his career. He won his last fight a KO over Wilson Hayes. I forgot to put down Sergio's stats here, but Bryce, you can go ahead.
I got Henry Cejudo here. I think that, he knocked out Wilson Hayes, who, to be fair, is a BJJ guy, but it shows that his stand-up is coming along, and he's still an Olympic gold medalist in wrestling. I think he's just got too many tools right now, and Sergio Pettis isn't far along enough yet. So that's why I got Cejudo. Despite
Sergio looking much better recently and putting together some impressive performances, I think Henry Cejudo is probably a little too much for him to handle right now. Cejudo's wrestling is something that Pettis hasn't really had to deal with yet. And I think Henry probably wins the decision in this one.
I think Henry is maybe a little too fast for Pettis, and I think he can work on better on the ground game. But I'm going to be a little biased to pick Pettis. He is on this little fight win streak, and I think he continues it. And hopefully build up to maybe hire people in the contention, and hopefully I want to see him in a title fight, but Lord, who knows whether that's going to happen.
You were a little bit of a Cejudo fan there for a while, Bryce. Just curious who you want to win this one.
I honestly, I don't really mind who wins. If Cejudo wins, it's good. He'll probably then get the next shot at Demetrius, assuming it isn't TJ. But I like watching Sergio Pettis. He's very exciting. I like both guys. It doesn't matter to me really who wins. But on a side note, I feel like it's pretty rare that we have anyone that has 3 different from anybody. And Brendan's had 3 straight that are different, I believe.
And I'm also like 20 behind in picks.
Yeah,
so.
right. Brendan's.
Yeah, that's fair.
This very well could be a title eliminator fight, too. The winner very well could end up facing Demetrius.
Yeah, assuming it isn't TJ next, which is, I think, the fight to make no matter what.
Just the way that division is, it wouldn't surprise me if the winner of this faces Demetrius next. The next fight, the co-main event, that is, Alistair Overeem and Francis Ngannou. Overeem is a former K1 and Strikeforce champion. He's 37 years old, 43-15. That's just an MMA, not including his kickboxing record.
He's 10-4 in kickboxing, by the way. And if you want to know more about that, check out the Fighter Spotlight on UntitledMMA.com.
There you go, shameless plug. He's on a 2-fight win streak. His last fight was a split decision over Fabricio Verdum in July. And then his opponent, Francis Ngannou, is 31 years old, 10-1 in his MMA career. He's won his last 9. His last fight was a TKO of Andrei Arlovsky back in January. Doesn't seem like it was that long ago. But, Bryce?
So, I want to touch on Alistair Overeem. His last 8 losses, this goes back to, I think, before he even entered the UFC. All of his last 8 losses were by knockout, so he has yet to lose by decision in, I think, like a decade or something like that. So if you want to beat him, you have to finish him. And I think that Francis Ngannou has those tools with his freakish power. I mean, look at the world record he had just set with the punching. That happened, and he lifted Andre Arlovski off his feet with that uppercut in January.
Literally.
I think Francis Ngannou finishes Alistair Overeem probably in the first round.
When I made my picks here, I wrote down Overeem, but I'm changing to Ngannou. Just like you said, although Overeem seems to be one of the best at avoiding getting hit, when he does get hit, it seems he gets shut off. And if Ngannou hits you, you're getting shut off anyways. So I don't think...
Exactly.
If Ngannou lands, it's not going to end well for Overeem. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Francis.
I'm going to do some simple addition here. Bad chin plus great power equals
Death.
nighttime, sleep, death, all that. So, yeah, I got Nagano as well.
And the main event of the evening, Max Holloway, the current featherweight champion of the world. He's only 25 years old, 18-3, and on an 11-fight win streak. His last fight was a win over the guy he's fighting this weekend. He TKO'd Jose Aldo in June. And then Aldo is a former WEC champion, a former 2-time UFC champion, the most successful defenses in featherweight history. He's 26-3, and obviously his last fight was a loss to Max Holloway. Bryce?
I've gone back and forth a lot in my head about this, but ultimately I've settled on Max Holloway just because he did just beat a full camp Jose Aldo, and this is not full camp Jose Aldo. Even though, I mean, part of me thinks that what if Jose uses his kicks? There's a lot of variables here. I just think that Max Holloway is 25 and he's got a lot more to learn than Jose Aldo, who's probably at his peak.
Let me get my notes here. I just rewatched the last fight about a week or over the weekend here. Aldo rocked Max in the middle of round 1, which I do not remember after watching it the first time. Max didn't really start landing until about 2 minutes into the second round. He was a lot more comfortable in the second round than he was in the first. Aldo got dropped about 2 minutes into the third round, and then it was a firefight before that, but he got dropped about 2 minutes into the third round. And then Max kind of just put a beat down on him. Aldo did protest the stoppage, but he was getting beat up pretty bad. I also went back and forth on this one. I was going to pick Jose. I ended up writing down Max, and then I almost changed it. But I am going to go with Max. I think if Aldo utilizes his leg kicks, which is the best part of his game, and I'm shocked he didn't do it the first time. I don't think he threw a single leg kick.
He threw one, and he also cited an injury as a result. That's why he only threw one.
Okay. But, I mean, if he utilizes that, it could change the entire fight. But just the way Max put him away last time, it's kind of hard to pick Max. And like you said, Aldo's not on a full camp. And Max kind of got to hand choose his opponent even for this one. So I'm going to go with Max.
I wanted to choose... Well, no, I didn't want to, but at first I was going to choose Aldo. Like, the first thing you think of Aldo is his kicks. I thought he can kick Holloway and possibly lead to a combo and knock him out or just build up his way to a decision. But I think his time is done from being a championship-level fighter. Just after the Holloway fight, Conor fight, I just think that's time's done. And now this is Holloway's time to be the champion. And this is his prime, so this is going to be his...
Blessed era.